mentioned some classified materials, some documents recently leaked, some classified documents. And this isn't a gotcha show, but I do want to ask about it, that says you are currently 81 years old.
Who the hell told you that?
Yeah.
That's classified.
That's classified. All jokes aside, according to recent polling, this is a real concern for American voters. How do you address that concern going forward as you come up to the 2024 election?
Well, a couple things. Number one, you got to take a look at the other guy. He's about as old as I am, but he can't remember his wife's name.
Yeah.
But first up, we're joined by our all-star panel, Sky News host Paul Murray and Nova Radio's Michelle Stevenson. Thank you both for joining us.
Howdy.
Let's start with those comments from Joe Biden that he made on Late Night with Sethe Meyers. Paul Murray, is he convincing anyone that he's mentally fit for the top job?
No. By the way, congratulations. This reminds me of the title, of course, of a great religious show back in the 1980s and 90s called The Hour of Power with Dr. Robert Sholem.
Oh, yeah?
So consider this to be your Crystal Cathedral.
So
we're going to church. We're going to church.
Yeah, we're going to church,
Might
baby.
be slightly different from a religious channel
Yeah.
show, but look, here we are. Thank you for joining us.
All right.
Thank you for being the first guest.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I'm very happy. All-star, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Correct. Now also, so Biden, right? I mean, they can do is they can make him look like he can balance on a bike. They can make him look like he's got all these great lines off his head on network television. They can make it look like he's, the best leader behind closed doors. But your eyes don't lie. The bloke is too old. The bloke misses a step. The bloke literally tripping over all over the shop. No.
Michelle, what's your read on this? Because he rarely makes TV appearances, and then when he does, he just laughs off serious concerns.
Yeah.
A lot of people in America are really concerned about his age.
Also, when he does make TV appearances, he's like that old man shouting at Sky. He gets easily agitated, which I think is not a good sign for someone who's running for the top job. Also, we have to speak about Donald Trump as well. They're both too old to be running. Let's be clear about that. It's a sad indictment on the state of US politics that we're here with two elderly gentlemen with no succession planning. And I think both the Republicans and the Democrats need to take a long look at what they're doing.
Paul Murray, what's your take on that? Do you agree?
My sense of it is that, again, the Republicans feel that there's unfinished business with Trump, right? Unfinished business from 2020 and almost a sense that sort of part of the first term was so nobbled, right? So they are just interlinked with Trump, to use a Cody Rhodesism from the WWE, to finish the story, right? They've been in this, they've lost all their friends, they've argued with their family members.
Totally.
So if you're in on Trump, you're all in and you're going to go all the way to the end. Biden is obviously too old, but the bizarre thing is that Biden has convinced himself that he's the only the Democrat who can beat Trump, because all the rest of them are too young, too woke. That's the other thing too, that they're so super wokey, the next range that's coming through. But the reason, by the way, that Biden in particular is trying to pretend, Trump's worse than me, is there was a poll put out by the New York Times a few months ago that suggested 6% of people, when they view them both as equally declining, move back towards Biden. So it's not just about saying, how good am I? It's about pulling Trump down to his level and winning a comparison.
But also a poll that happened recently, like in the States, they said that 59% of voters say they're both too old for the job. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, they need to look at someone who is going to take the spot. Nikki Haley, I think she's got some good runs on the board. I think she'd be a great kind of alternative. But, the Democrats don't have anyone. And as you said, they're getting too woke. They're going too far to the left. They're kind of ostracising the right and the middle even.
But then there's the question of how long can Nikki Haley actually stay in the race for? Because she's got beaten by Trump.
Got the money though, and she has said she will stay, and I kind of like that. I like you need a bit of competitive spirit in the lead up to the run up to this kind of election.
Yeah, but is it a lost cause?
Yes, she's not going to be the nominee unless Trump is disqualified from being the nominee. The reason she's staying in and the length of time as to why she's staying in is all, will the Supreme Court uphold the decision of several Democratic states to bounce his name off the ballot? Because presumably, if he can be done in one state, it's not an election where there's a central body that's running everything. It's 50 separate elections. And if states are given the right to boot him off, well, then he goes and she says, well, I'm the last one standing, so I get it. That said, let's imagine she did become the nominee. The 60% of people that are relentlessly voting against her will not go out and campaign for her, will not go out and vote for her. So, yes, in head-to-head matches, Haley ends up beating Biden, but The bigger problem for both these parties is young voters, voters to the left, Arab voters won't get behind Biden because of his position on Israel, and MAGA won't get behind Haley. So what, 3 people will vote?
Well, it's going to be interesting. What can happen between now and November? What's your prediction, Michelle?
Look, my prediction is that Biden will sustain. Like, I think at the end of the day, if Trump ends up being the Republican nominee and does end up running, I do think that Biden will beat him. I don't think he will win on the popular vote.
Okay, well, let's move on. Let's look at Donald Trump. He's issued a warning that Prince Harry will be on his own if he's re-elected as president after he betrayed Queen Elizabeth. Michelle, is this a fair warning from Donald Trump to Prince Harry?
I love how Donald Trump's getting involved in the royal kind of scandal. I think he's kind of seen something that he can pick up a few votes on, particularly as a Republican nominee. But look, I don't know if it's a fair warning. A lot of people are pushing for Harry not to be in America because of his admission of drug taking, which to me is hilarious considering, you know, Bush admitted to taking cocaine as well. So I think you can't really deny him access to the US based on that. But look, I don't know why he's even bothering. I don't know.
Well, what's your assessment on all of this? Do you think that it's fair? What do you make of it?
I just, you know, Trump is the first politician who is equally a pundit, a viewer, and a participant, right? So in the same way that many of us sit and watch TV and yell at the TV or yell at our phones at some video, he gives a press conference and the feedback loop becomes louder and louder. I just love, under which particular power of the US presidency do you turn around and say, Harry out? I would imagine that Americans are far more interested in seeing illegal immigrants booted out of the country than a legal one, as annoying as he may well be. And that's going to be the real deportation plan of Trump, and rightfully so, because the crime that is connected, and almost there's one every day, definitely every week, of an illegal immigrant moving their way through up to a sanctuary city, the disrespect of the police, and then somebody getting killed. This is A1, big issue, and in the same way that Democrat voters will forgive Biden for not being able to finish a sentence, Republicans forgive Trump on anything else on the hope that he cleans the joint up.
Yeah, and we are going to get into that a little bit further on the program. We'll be crossing to the US.
Look at you deep teasing.
Yeah, we are.
Well done. Watch the video all the way to the end, and just do me a favour right now. Can you all just go back and repeat? Go back and repeat like 5 seconds, because just for some reason I want the little algorithm to look like that just when we're talking. It's most replayed.
Look, Michelle, finally, what is your assessment of it all? Has Joe Biden been too forgiving of Prince Harry? Is a real issue, the immigration crisis in America?
Look, I think the immigration issue is definitely one that Biden is not sticking his nose in, and he definitely should be doing that. I think there's a lot of things at play here. We've had the Ukraine, we've had Israel. So at the end of the day, I don't know if the Sussexes are really high on the agenda, and I don't think they should be.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see, won't we? Anyway, we'll move on. The 2024 National Rugby League season is kicking off in Las Vegas this weekend as the league expands into the United States. The NRL is going to deploy 40 security guards to protect players while they're over in Sin City, after local authorities warned of potential extortion attempts. Now, Paul, you've been to Las Vegas a few times. I've never been there.
Annually. Literally.
Is the security
not a joke. Love it. Like, no one's going, I've been to Vegas once, went to a wedding, flew over it. I go every year.
Every single year?
I found it fantastic. It's wonderful. I'm my best self.
Do you need security to flank you at all times to make sure you're not extorted?
Look, I've got that down pat. However, yeah, there's probably a chance every now and then I need saving from myself.
Look, I'm really glad this is not a religious show. The Hour of Power. Let's get into what
Crystal
happens in Las
Cathedral is
Vegas.
breaking.
We're not going to ask about your experiences over there, but let's talk about the NRL boys.
Do rugby league players need saving from themselves?
Do they need saving from themselves? Okay.
Yes.
Do we agree,
They
Michelle?
can't go to a nightclub in the Shire in Sydney. They can't go. No. Look, I think it's awesome that they're there. 40,000 tickets sold in a place where the assumption is no one knows what rugby league is. But Vegas, what they have done between this, the football team that they've got there in the NFL, the Formula One Grand Prix, they just are up for an event. And apart from all the jokes about Vegas, there is nothing like it for hosting an event. There's nothing like it for going to an event. You just sort of stay in that hype field for the whole way. Like when you did the Taylor Swift thing last week.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I was hyped the whole way.
But imagine a whole city that just
Yeah.
keeps you in that stage for ages.
Yeah, and that stadium is right in central Vegas too. It's like literally there you go from the stadium and you go straight to the bar and straight to the casinos. Look, do they need babysitting? Do they need saving from themselves? 100%. Anyone who's worked in news for a very long time knows that league players are a gift. They're an absolute gift because they always do something that we're going to lead with.
Yeah.
Okay, you know that there's drunk and there's rugby league drunk.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
we keep hearing we'll be able to play this in a few days' time because it's just a matter of time until there is a scandal, right? Like,
Yeah, but look, there is part of me, a small part of me, that doesn't want them to be set free and do anything unpleasant.
Set them free.
But I do like the idea of, you know, there are these moments in your life where you work so hard.
Yeah.
You know, while all of us were sort of sunning ourselves over summer, they're running up and down hills.
Yeah.
Why not a couple of nights mucking around in Vegas? But the problem is they can't be trusted. That's the point. So earn the trust, and then Mummy and Daddy Rugby League will let you stay up till dawn.
Well, they've got the
And I'll tell
security.
you where to go.
So we'll say, okay, we'll get the tips.
I'll tell you exactly where to go.
Let's move on. ASIO boss Mike Burgess has revealed a foreign interference operation involving a former politician betraying Australia and attempting to involve a Prime Minister's relative with foreign spies. The operation, known as the A-Team, targeted Australia for several years, according to Burgess's latest threat assessment.
Several years ago, the A-Team successfully cultivated and recruited a former Australian politician. This politician sold out their country, party, former colleagues to advance the interests of a foreign regime. At one point, the former politician even proposed bringing a Prime Minister's family member into the spy's orbit. Fortunately, that plot did not go ahead, but others did.
Burgess stated that ASIO caught the Australians involved and made it clear that the A-Team's cover was exposed.
I want the A-Team and its masters to understand that if they target Australia, ASIO will target them. We will make their lives and their jobs as difficult, costly and painful as possible. ASIO disrupted this scheme and confronted the Australians involved. And while some were unwitting, others knew they were working for a foreign intelligence service.
Michelle, how concerned were you to hear this?
Yeah, look, I think, of course, there's a lot of concern here, but it just goes to show how well ASIO is doing, and particularly under the leadership of Burgess. Burgess has been great in his leadership role. He's shown full transparency. But, like, look, LinkedIn is the real source of the problem here, and that's where they're getting a lot of their spies from. That's where they're kind of coercing a lot of people. And when you look at the fundamentals of how to coerce someone into being a spy, money, ideology, coercion, ego, MICE, those are the acronym for it. And I think when it comes to the politician, it's going to be ego at play here. And they really kind of got someone big and a nest of them as well. And I think we're not going to hear the last of this. I think this is going to keep going for a very long time. But do we need to know who the politician is? I know there's been a lot of people calling for it. I don't think we need to know. I think at the end of the day, this is an ongoing threat assessment. And this politician might be helping them and might be helping them get more of the nest of spies that are in the A-Team.
Paul, what do you think? Do we need to name the politician?
Yes, you're being too kind.
No, I'm not being kind at all, because we don't know what he could show. If they unveil him, we don't know what that could unnest in terms of like the people he surrounds himself with. So this is an ongoing assessment. They can't do it right now.
Well, the thing is, though, if they were trying to do that, then why tell us the operation is in play, right?
Because Burgess is all about transparency.
Well, not entirely.
To a point,
He's
but
a Secret Service agency.
No. But he's more transparent than his predecessor.
Absolutely, right. And he was very good to point out the changing threats to Australia, like at the moment, particularly sort of radical Islam issues in and around the response to what's happened post-October the 7th. But back to the politician. I think the politician should be named because, by inference, every former politician is automatically under suspicion. Joe Hockey, who came out, who does a lot of business internationally, has turned around and had to say, look, please name the damn person, right? The thing is, whatever information has been garnered, not talking about sources and methods, we're talking about turning around and saying it's this person or it's this political party, or you have to start to put a time frame around it if you're not going to name them. Now, Australian politician, the first reading of that, you go, federal politics. And hang on, Australian politician means potentially state politics. And if you know your news well enough, there are little pockets that bring up memories of issues in the past. I think it needs to be someone who served, if you're not going to name them, it's someone who served in this period of time, in this type of parliament, and potentially even what political party.
But what Michelle was saying earlier, do you think the fact that this has come to light has given Australians more confidence in ASIO, that this has been exposed?
Yeah, I mean, look, their job is the same as trying to beat terrorism or anything else, right? They've got to get it right 100% of the time. If they get it 99% of the time, then the one that gets through is going to suffer. So absolutely well done. I'm not piddling from any height on what they did, just talking about that question of whether the person should be named. I like that they talked about how academics had been apparently co-opted to be able to go off to some conference overseas. These are the types of controls we need to be very serious about, right? We have foreign national governments, adversarial governments in China with things like Confucius Institutes in our own universities, all right? Not suggesting, by the way, that this case is China. I like my job and I have no interest in being thrown into a gulag, which I'm sure exists and
That's
definitely will if the Greens... Wait till the Greens get in power. They'll find a place. It'll be right in the desert and it'll be me sitting there.
How long did it take for Paul Murray to have a go at the Greens?
Yeah, actually, quite a while. 15 minutes. Well, actually, our time's almost up. Any final thoughts on that one, Michelle?
Look, final thoughts. I think ASIO is doing a really good job. We've known for a while that this is the way that they're going to have get through to the government, is kind of through those academics. Be careful on your LinkedIn. Anyone out there, they look for security clearances. I know people like to say they have high security clearances. You're going to be in their sites. You're going to be befriended by them. So I think we all have to be cautious. We all have a role to play in protecting Australia.
Moving on now for our final topic. The latest inflation figures have been released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, revealing a steady 3.4% rate in January. Despite the figure remaining unchanged from December, the data indicates cost of living pressures persist. To get an understanding of how much the prices of goods have risen over the years, here's some 90s nostalgia of an abandoned McDonald's in the US, which reveals how affordable fast food used to be. Paul, are the good old days over?
I'm just recognising the order and I'm going, I've done that one, done that one, done that one. I used to like when, remember when McDonald's was served in styrofoam? That's way back when, right? It used to literally be in styrofoam. They got rid of it, you know, environment, whatever.
And used to chew on it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, of course. Lick the batteries. You know, I was that kid. She obviously was the nice lady who used to pick on that kid, but fair enough.
Not at all, not at all.
Let's turn around and talk, though, about, you know, headline inflation slightly down from where it was. Unless, of course, you're paying rent, you're eating food, or you're driving a car.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, that's pretty much everyone.
It's pretty expensive out there. Michelle, your go-to Macca's order?
Look, my go-to Macca's order is a fillet of fish, and when I'm hungover, I need to order that delivered, and there's nothing worse than paying $25 for a McDonald's order, because once you put in all the service fees, look, McDonald's is really expensive, and I guess, you know, that's cost of living pressures, but I don't mind that fast food has become more expensive. I do think at the end of the day, it's kind of good for the overall well-being of Australians to kind of look towards the healthier options. Maybe don't get the Macca's order. Maybe just make some toast.
You need to convince Harris Farm to set up a drive-through. If you put a drive-through on anything, Australians will be part of it. In Townsville, there's a drive-through tobacconist. In Gladstone, there's a drive-through pie shop. So if you'd like to set up the world's first, you know, acai bowl drive-through, good luck.
Don't make fun of me because I live in Bondi.
Yeah, I'm not too far away. But look, even though we are in a cost of living crisis, I suppose people will fork out to pay Macca's, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. McDonald's has always kind of been the go-to. I mean, Paul loves a good old McDonald's. What's your go-to?
My go-to, 6 nuggets, small chips, large Coke. Then, depending on how we're feeling, we add to it. If we add to it, we can add to it with the cheeseburger, but no pickle, no onion. Sometimes we'll go up to quarter pound of the same thing.
God, you're so specific.
Oh, absolutely. No, this is the thing. You got to understand, right? Anything you eat in your car doesn't count. Because you can outrun the calories, you see, ladies.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we can agree. We all love McDonald's any night of the week. Paul Murray, Michelle Stevenson, thank you so much for joining me and being on our first panel of Power Hour.
Congratulations.
It's been so much fun. We'll do it again soon.